Hi, everybody. We're here with Manuel Sapiano. He's the head of the Energy and Water Agency of Malta. It's very welcome. Thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure talking to you.
It's a pleasure also for me and also to follow this interesting initiative.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you work with water in Malta. Needs water because it's an island. You have problems with the salt intrusion in your water, and you don't have enough water, and you use a lot of groundwater. You have purged aquifer. Can you talk a little bit about the water in Malta for us, please?
So, with Malta, we're talking about a small Mediterranean island. When small, I'm referring to something of the order of 300 square kilometers. So, very small compared to other big countries. But an island which has a very high population density. So, once more, over 3,000 people per inhabitants per square kilometer. And that means that when considering Malta, one needs to consider a city-state more than a conventional island like one would say even bigger Mediterranean islands. So we have Mediterranean climate, so a generic lack of rainfall, but we also have a lot of people, which means a high demand for water. The small size of the island precludes the formation of surface waters. So we do not have any rivers, we don't have any lakes. So the only natural resource of water is groundwater, and groundwater which is sustained in a permeable carbonate formation, limestone, and obviously at sea level. So it's a floating lens aquifer, the typical model for a Geigen-Herzberg aquifer. So it's this big freshwater lens which has a high storage capacity but needs to be managed quite in detail because of its fragility.
Yep.
Obviously, there's also, as you mentioned, there's also these high-lying small purge aquifer systems. It's Malta is a succession of limestones and clays, and in the higher regions of the island, in the western side, there are these small purge aquifers, which, however, are important for the agricultural sector. So, looking at our dependence on groundwater, one would look at a share of groundwater of around 60% of the national water demand. The other resources mainly coming from either desalination of seawater or water use. So our water use is a mix of natural resources, mainly groundwater, and non-conventional water resources, but the share of groundwater is very important, and it exceeds 50%, actually it's around 60%.
That's very good. You have to desalinate your groundwater as well in some of the water well fields that you have, because you're pumping, it's the water lens on top of salt water, right? So is it mixed already, or can you manage the aquifer not to be?
Actually, no. Desalination mainly it comes from seawells, so it's desalination of seawater. Seawater, however, filtered in the rock at the fringes of the lens. The maximum head of groundwater reaches today around 3 meters, which means that offhand there's over 100-meter column of fresh water in the center of the island. Managing abstraction correctly, which means limiting the depth of groundwater pumping wells to not more than 7 meters below sea level, and also the historical structures, the galleries, which are actually horizontal tunnels dug in the rock, which permit the skimming of the lens. So the taking up of the better portion of groundwater permit this fragile system to be managed, and one can get the best quality water from it. This said, there are areas which are intruded, and intruded significantly, particularly where abstraction has been quite significant, and therefore one tends to balance as much as possible the good part of the aquifer, possibly with the less good parts, but then groundwater is blended with desalinated water to achieve drinking water limits, And in the case of agriculture, given that the abstraction of the agricultural sector per groundwater source is less, therefore, the impact of direct intrusion, so the impact of upconing, seawater upconing, is much limited, and therefore that permits better quality water to be actually taken from these small sources.
Oh, that's very nice. So you mean the tunnels? You're using like horizontal wells, basically, right?
Yes, there are around over 15 kilometers of these tunnels, which were drilled between the 1880s and 1960. So some of them are historic structures, which permit the water in the top part of the lens to move over these, let's say, submerged dams and then be collected and pumped up for supply. So it's quite an interesting structure, possibly unique in Malta, but the interesting part of it is that when you are actually going into these tunnels to monitor what's happening, you're actually walking in groundwater, which is not something which is that much common in
Anywhere.
normal situations.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. We would like to have this published in our project because our idea is not only to distribute knowledge in groundwater, but it's actually to learn from colleagues and people that solve their problems in different ways in different countries, different cultures. So it'd be very nice if we could have some publications and we can make a book into our project from you or from someone in your team or in Malta. That would be very welcome because this is a
Definitely.
very nice situation.
I think we could keep contacts, and we should keep contacts. And groundwater management is a collaborative process. It's a learning process. It's
Yeah,
what one does compared to what other people, because sometimes it's the same challenges being solved in different ways in different countries. And that's the need to share experiences, the need to collaborate, because there's a lot of good practices around, and we
yeah.
need to, as much as possible, get these good practices together.
Exactly. That's exactly our goal. That's exactly our goal. And it's important because, like, I'm living in Brazil, in most regions in Brazil, except the Northeast, we have plenty of water. So the culture of saving water and managing groundwater in a wise way is not really a big concern here. It's becoming now. It's because we have droughts and we have population is huge, but it's very important that we can share experience like yours because this is it's already tested, right? It's already tested well, and you had in the 1880s that when they started building that's quite something. It's very
These
interesting.
structures, yes.
So how did you get to know our project? You're the first person of Malta to register on our website and an important person in Malta. That was very nice for us.
Well, I believe it was a communication most probably from the IAH,
Okay.
which alerted me to it, and I browsed through the website. The concept is very interesting, particularly for us. I mentioned the smallness of Malta. That means that the groundwater community in Malta is very small, and even at an educational level, there's limited opportunities for courses on groundwater in Malta. So most of the time, even with our recruits, there's a lot of in-house training which we provide. So we tend to get people with generic degrees, environmental sciences,
Okay.
engineering, and then we train them at the agency on groundwater sciences ourselves. And one of the issues was resources. And having a website which can get these resources available is a very good opportunity and a very helpful aspect to expose people to literature, to enable them, look, this is an important text which you can read, which you can broaden your knowledge on going around. So we found it very helpful, particularly with our young people, to give them this opportunity of looking at different texts and also use potentially use publications to actually keep developing our internal training content.
Very good. Thank you. That's the idea. That's what we're pursuing from here. So we're producing our first books are coming this August. The first new books because the only ones that we have John Cherry's book still there.
But it's a very important book, but
Oh, it is. No, it's not just one book. It's the book, right?
it's a very important book. Yeah.
I know. So that's how it all started from that book, from that experience. So our idea is to develop and to offer some books for professors if they want to teach a course, because the first books that we're offering, they have exercises for people to practice, and we have the solutions on that so people can study on their own. We can help. The idea is to build a community that can work together, and then we can learn together and not only teach. You know, the idea is not preaching people, it's learning in a community way. And that's very important. We have some connections with different countries, and it would be good if we could have like something from the hydrogeology of Malta. If you could have something that we could publish, right? That is,
Yeah, definitely.
we could offer on our website, because our idea is to have many views of different countries, so we can learn a little bit of hydrogeology. We can have information there, you know, because sometimes we need contacts in different regions, and it would be found in a website. The idea is actually working together. So if you could
No,
provide us with
definitely.
it, that'd be very good.
As I said, the importance of collaboration is not just taking, but also giving. So we've
Oh
got
yeah.
publications which we can share. No, definitely, by all means. So it
Thank
will
you.
also be important for us to expose what we're doing. So why not? Definitely.
Oh, thanks. That was very nice. That's very nice. Well, we'll be in touch for these developments, and if you have ideas, because I know, well, when you have experience in managing groundwater, not all the countries have good experience in that. Some have, some others don't. I was talking to a person of Libya today. They have some big problems there, but Libya is a huge country, right? So we can share this knowledge, and that'll be very, very welcome. I'm very glad you met us.
Yeah, and the important thing is that yes, you can learn from good practices, but you can also learn from bad practices. So it's a
Oh,
learning process where even mistakes needs to be exposed, because you learn also from those. So no one gets groundwater management perfect at the first try. It's this iterative process which we need to work in together.
not even at the
Yeah.
second time, because you keep improving. Yes, I know.
Let's say it's the very important term of expect the unexpected.
Good way to put it. Yes, that's very true. Okay, it was very
Okay.
nice talking to you, Manuel. It was a great talk, and we'll be in touch and hope we can work together. It's very welcome.
Same with me, and hope that this is a start of a fruitful collaboration.
Thank you. Just a final thing. We're asking everybody to say Groundwater Project, I mean, in their own language. Can you say that for us?
Project l-ilma tal-pjan.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
No,
Thank
we'll
you.
be in touch. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. It
Bye
was very
bye.
nice talking to you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Same. Bye bye.